welcome to the GCSUNScast, the only Gold Coast Suns fan show for your ears. If you're joining us live, please reach out to us and other fans on the chat room. Let us know your thoughts and if there are any audio issues. But without further ado, live from the Oxenford studio, I'm your host Shane. And joining me this week on the line is Tom. How are you, Tom?
How's your Christmas and New Year's, mate?
Yeah, it was good. Quite hectic, quite busy, but not a lot of football going around. So I delved into my other passion, which was video games.
Good on you. Yeah. We're better than cricket.
Yeah, I don't really think cricket exists at the moment. I'm just sort of sticking my head in the sand. Maybe when the team starts to play a bit better, we'll focus on that again. But for now, we've got quite a bit to talk about. We've got a start of the 2019 season, the start of a new era for the GCSUNScast. And we've got a big episode, but first let me just lay out our episode plan for the future. We've got starting February, we're going to be going to a fortnightly schedule, releasing an episode every couple of weeks until the start of the season, when we will go to one episode a week. However, if you jump onto our Patreon at patreon.com/GCSUNScast, we have a couple of goals we're aiming for. Now, the first one is $50 per month, which we've reached thanks to our Patreon donors, James Wood and Old Salt. And that's covering our live fees to produce this podcast. Our next goal of 125 covers the mixing desk and also gives us the ability to introduce live phone calls. So we will allow our Patreon donors to call in live and chat to us. And the next goal is $200 per month. Will enable us to move to a 2 episodes per week format. Basically a review episode of the game just gone, and then a couple of days later a preview episode of the game to come up. So if you want to hear more of the GCSUNScast, be sure to jump onto Patreon and, send out a couple of dollars to us. It doesn't matter how much, every little bit counts, and it gives you the ability to jump in and contribute to the show. Yeah, and,
really right what you just said, every little bit counts. We got 100 people listening each week at our best last year. A couple of bucks from everyone would help us reach our target straight away.
Yep, definitely. So, James Wood and Old Soul have already contributed and helped us to be able to go to a live format. Now, the other stuff going on is with our live format, we have a chat room. So at this stage, only Facebook has this, but I am working on it right now as we speak to try and get a copy into Big Footy, so listeners can jump on board and have a chat with us in the studio. So Tom, did you just want to go over what we were talking about for what we're planning on talking about for this episode?
Yeah. Look, we had to rule a few things out. We've got to leave some things because we've still got 8 weeks until the first bounce of round 1. But basically, we're going to be talking about pre-season training, which has been going on in earnest, and there's been some really great developments and a lot of. I really love the clubs. Their marketing and their media about that. But just to run through club culture, which feeds into that, we're going to talk about the under-19 squad, which is actually a very important announcement made a few days ago. I'm going to have a bit of a rant about the vacant list spots that we have and what we should be doing. Of course, the topic on everyone's minds is the captaincy. Usually February is about the time, isn't it, Shane, when captaincy from each club is confirmed, if indeed it's going to change. But for us, we've got no choice. Both our captains have to use the Spanish phrase, "Vámonos."
Yes,
And
the
then
Suns haven't had much luck with captains lately, but
we haven't had that many captains, but we
got a
haven't
good
had luck
feeling.
lately.
I've got a good feeling about this. I really think our captain this time is going to be at the club for, at least until we see some sort of success. But
Yep.
continue.
And then finally, we've got a great listener question, which we'll get into in more detail when it comes down to it. But we better get going. We've got 45 minutes, which sometimes we fail on, but we can't now that we're live.
We're down to 40 minutes or just under. But yes, I've got a bit of news to cover off first, and I've got a special sound effect I just want to play for this. Let's see. Here we go. Yep, and that's the news tone. So we've got a couple of updates on injuries from the Suns.
Yep.
We've got Sam Day and George Holland-Smith both coming into a full return after shoulder surgery. Now, I mean, Day had that horrific shoulder injury last year, which ruled him out for the rest of the season. He was supposed to start full contact again on the return for Christmas. And Holman has suffered some back soreness prior to Christmas, so he's on the reduced training schedule. The biggest issue over the pre-season is Jack Leslie. He's had knee surgery, but is supposedly back running.
Yeah, and that was he tried to play through that injury, but you could just see he was on one leg. So good luck to Jack, because he's well in the mix, in my opinion, and certainly it's a big year for him, because if he doesn't perform, he's out the door.
Yes. So, I mean, that's pretty good injury list-wise for the Suns. We've only got, four players at this stage. So let's hope the luck stays on our side and the players stay fit and healthy, at least until the season started.
Do we think that Day and George Holland-Smith are going to play JLT, or are they sort of going to be maybe slated for a knee full return?
Well, I think they'll push for JLT. If they're both supposed to be coming back to full contact after Christmas, that will give them about 5 to 6 weeks before any sort of competitive matches.
Great.
Weren't we supposed to be playing the Lions in some pre-season trial games outside of JLT?
Yeah, unclear exactly, because I did read something about the Lions playing the GWS as well in that sort of thing. So maybe it may only actually be one, but that's not official. That's just it's always rumours, and I doubt whether we're going to get much of a heads up over when those scratch matches will occur. They'll be quiet affairs, I imagine. They won't really want many people to know much about what goes on, but other clubs do it. Plenty of other clubs do it, and we've got 47 blokes on our list, and we need to try them all out, see how they go in combinations, and they're all up. Every spot's up for grabs, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. I don't think anyone really knows what our side is going to look like come round one, and that's something we're going to have a lot of fun talking about over the next few episodes. Let's jump into the pre-season training talk. There's been quite a bit of news actually coming from the club and various other sources in the media about the Suns pre-season, and a lot of it's all quite good news. High performance manager Alex Rigby, who was recently promoted near the end of last year, has upgraded the workload and the sort of training the boys at the club are doing, with 50% more kilometres and workload than this time last year. And there was an article that was out earlier than that, I think, about how they're on a very high intense running sort of scheduled training load.
Well, look, Stuart Dew came out and said when they were going in their off season that he had an expectation of the players becoming 12-month athletes, and the early reports from them coming back, the first to fourth year players were coming back in full fitness. They weren't letting themselves go. We haven't really had any of the reports for Christmas, and you kind of expect players to take it a bit easy, but they've been beaten and bashed and pushed to their utmost limits before Christmas. So I think they deserve the break, deserve the taper, and by all means, Rigby needs to keep them going at this rate, because the fourth quarter fade outs and the times where you just see the players just out on their feet, they can't afford that. You can't stay in the AFL as a player if you can't play the full game. So we're now going to be getting up to competitive, and the signs are very exciting.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Mr. Juicy's just jumped on and said my audio's off a bit. So I'll just see if I can fix that. But
sure.
The pre-season training camp, we saw a couple of videos come out from that, and Alex Rigby was really pushing the boys, more so mentally than physically. So it was really quite impressive.
Yeah, certainly. And, for these new recruits to come in like Jack Homsch and Anthony Miles, George Holland-Smith, Homsch and Miles played for GWS, and then Homsch played for Port, Miles played for Richmond, and GHS come from the Cats. And those are teams that are renowned for raising the level for fitness for players. And they've all said it's equal to the hardest they've ever done.
Yeah, Homsch, Miles, George Holland-Smith, all have come from respected clubs. Homsch has come from Port Adelaide, and he's been there since 2012. And they were told that, they had that European soccer EPL guy there. That was he was like a fitness guru, and Port Adelaide were hailed as one of the fittest clubs in the competition. So for him to come to the Suns and say this is one of the hardest things he's had to do, it's really quite impressive.
Well, don't forget, Aaron Young was at Port, had his first year with us as well, and he's echoed the statements. Homsch and Miles both started out in 2012 at the Giants, and they had they had all the facilities there that the Suns have only just really gotten after the Commonwealth Games. So, these are some big clubs that these guys have come from, and they're unanimous in saying that it's up to the highest standard they've ever experienced. And everyone else who's either been with the Suns all along or come from a previous club previously, they're saying it's all harder than anything they've ever done. So it's very good to see. And Alex Rigby, people were talking about maybe a bit of nepotism because his old man's the club doctor. He's already, in my view, he's already proven himself. He's he's set a new standard for the Gold Coast Suns, and each year they'll be able to build on that base that they've built up over this time. The NZ Tour was the best thing they could have done, the best investment they could have ever made. Bloody fantastic. Screw going to Arizona. They've got, those guys have gone and had a really good time, and they've built their fitness up to AFL standard.
Yeah, well, the 2K time trial results came out as well, and that was a little surprising. Schoenfeld was our best runner, but he's got a history of being an elite runner. So what was more surprising was the followers behind him. Miller came in second, Murdoch was third, Powell was fourth, and Dawson behind him in fifth. But there was also what's the word? The coaches were impressed by Ballard and Heron as well. So we didn't see what results they got. But
the second year players have really shown here. Powell, Dawson, Heron, and Ballard, they've all posted PBs, which is just amazing. That they can prove it, and more than that, they've come in that top part of the field out of 40 odd players.
Yeah. So well, yeah, you look at it like that. That's out of 40 odd people, and they're not. Let's just say they're not like the average bloke like you and me. They're not going to struggle to run 2Ks. So they do have some stiff competition. I didn't see where Weller was in that, but I would hope he would be up the top.
He normally is, but Murdoch was up in the top at Geelong as well. So, we shouldn't be surprised there. I'm seriously impressed with Miller because Schoenfeld, as a junior, was a national level athlete as a junior. And he chose AFL as a career. And his second round draft pick on the basis of his athleticism. So for Miller to get up into second, and it wasn't like Schoenfeld and then Daylight. It was Miller and Murdoch. They were all pushing to win the thing. So, fantastic. And you don't get much information about time trials at any club. We do a 2K time trial, but we do like a few time trials with the younger guys and the older guys and whatnot. So it's great to see the clubs being a bit transparent about it because it's there's not much news and you want to know who's pushing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the time of the year that the club boosts the positive news coming out of it. So, I mean, that's where they instill hope in fans. This is always the time of year that I get most excited about the club. And then, a few months later, I'm woefully depressed again. But,
well, normally the injury rate's a bit higher at this time, isn't it? So it is. That's one thing to be a bit more optimistic about.
Yeah, it is. But I'm happy with the way the club has updated us this year. And Mr. Juicy's just jumped on the chat again, that's agreeing with me that he likes the way they've updated with these little video updates this year. But it's more so the type of news that's coming out of the club. It feels different to other years. I'm genuinely excited about the future of the club. I realise this season may not go amazingly well, but I mean, I feel like the club's hit rock bottom already. It can't drop any further.
No, exactly.
So I'm very optimistic and very positive about the news we're getting from the club. And that sort of leads into our next topic, which is club culture. You saw there's a lot of talk after the draft about these guys that we'd drafted and recruited. Not so much recruited, but your Ben King, your Jack Lukosius, Isaac Rankin, whether they would stay at the club, how long is it going to be until they leave? So, but everything we're hearing is fantastic from what's coming out. I mean, the boys, Isaac Rankin, Ben King, Jack Lukosius, apparently all staying with Mark Evans. So, they're getting a free access ride on the Gold Coast with the head of the Suns up here at the moment. And
I mean, they're 18-year-old kids, so their parents will be happy with that, and you can't do better than staying with the boss. And if we're honest, most CEOs do sort of extend these courtesies to various players at various times, and it's sort of a bit of a historical thing for the CEO. A real invested CEO will do that kind of thing.
It's also going to instill professionalism into the boys from an early age. Yeah. But, I mean, we saw video footage of Ben King being asked his ATAR scores in front of the rest of the boys. Now, I'm not from Victoria. I never spent any time in Victoria, so I'm not quite sure what an ATAR is exactly.
It's a bit of a new
It's the Year 12 evaluation of your whole school. I think in Queensland, when I went through school, it was OPs, but I think that may have changed since then.
It all gets now. Everyone gets an ATAR now. It's a bit confusing for me too. To be honest, I watched the footage and then looked up what ATAR actually meant, and he can have his pick of courses. He can go and do whatever he wants.
So are we talking like the equivalent of what an OP1 was?
Possibly in the 1 or 2 category. We're talking top 5 to 10%. Very, very good.
So is it on 100 scale? Because the OP from memory was on a 25 scale.
Yeah, 99. 99 or 99.5 or something ridiculous. He's up there, way up there. He wants to study commerce, so he's going to have options at Bond and Griffith. I don't know exactly where he'll be going yet. From what I know, a overwhelming majority of Gold Coast students end up going to Griffith. They rarely study full time. It's up to the student. But he can study part time or full time. Whether or not he's going to play, even any senior footy at all this year, but his brother scored higher than him in the ATAR, so he's in my view, the best thing in the world for him is to be taken from his brother. His brother's done better than him in everything ever. Get him away from his twin and let him blossom where he's no longer second best. He can be the best. And he's got a couple of positions that he can play. Probably starts the year in NEAFL, but I reckon he'll destroy the NEAFL. He'll be kicking bags of goals, or he'll be last line of defence and just not letting any opposition forward get anywhere near the goals. Let him develop and go crazy. I think him studying at a Gold Coast university means that he'll probably be at that university for 3 to 4 or more years, and that's good for us.
He wouldn't be going full time; it would be part time. So I
yeah,
would say it would be 5 to 6 years more likely. But it's not just their attitudes and stuff. They've been welcomed by the other players, and it's been the visible appearance of come in, come join us sort of thing. It's been public knowledge that the boys have been welcomed around for dinners and meetups with the guys. Lockie, Weller and Tuke Miller are strong leaders in this.
Absolutely,
and we'll get to that later, but that's why those two are also strong candidates for the club captaincy. And it's also the impact that the new recruits are having as well. George Horn-Smith, Miles, Homch, they're all, that we spoke about this last year, they've all got that characteristic of a team player and strong morals and work ethics. So
they've been brought in to replace the guys they're brought in to replace Lynch and May and Cole Jasny and a few guys who've moved on, but they're character players. They've got pretty much the same amount of experience, and I've said previously that they're all of the vintage or thereabouts of our foundation players, and so we've even going back a couple of years, we've replaced the foundation players who've left with guys who are still about that same age. So we've got a few guys who are up in their 30s, but most of our guys are in their mid-20s, and that's where we are as a club. We're going into our 9th year, and that for an AFL player is 27. So we needed a few more 27-year-olds because we lost so many of them.
We expected when we recruited these blokes that we said last year on our podcast that these blokes are going to be the leaders of our club. But what's really surprised me is that it's been the Tuke Millers, the Ben Ainsworths, the Lockie Wellers, guys that have only been at the club for a year or two are standing up, taking ownership of the club and bringing in these other boys and saying, come join us, come be a part of this. It's really something I haven't seen at the Gold Coast Suns, and I'm really excited for it, and it's partly why I just feel like the club culture has got to a point where we can be very confident with it.
I absolutely agree with everything you just said. It's fantastic to see. We've got a group of guys who, as you say, they haven't been around for all that long, but they can see what's happening. We're building up talent, and talent's useless unless you've got experience and a group that can go forward. And you can't make culture, but talented players and feeling good about the future and every year doing better and better, because as you say, from 4 wins, there's not a lot of backsliding that we can do from here. So many players have left the club, so many players have come into the club, and the guys who are already there have seen all this change. They're not blind. They don't walk around with their eyes shut. they can see that the best foot forward is to develop the culture of the club by being good mates. You don't have to be best mates with everyone you play with, but there are a lot of issues with the club culture. There was the drug culture. There was the God Squad. There are various other things that have gone on in the previous years that really were culture killers. And even Lynch, for whether you agree with his reasons for leaving or not, or May, they'd had enough, and you could see it in their attitude. And these guys coming through and saying, "Well, we haven't had enough. We want more, and we want to take the club to another level." And the new guys who've come in, they've bought in 100%.
Okay, so this feeds perfectly onto the next topic. Let's talk about the club captaincy then, because these guys that we've been talking about are all candidates. So, I mean, I put out a Facebook question to our listeners during the week about who they think should be the club captain, and overwhelming majority of people said David Swallow.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Yeah, I said Smello. Well, Swallow, Miller, and Weller, but Miller and Weller need a few more years before they can be captain. Make them vice captains. Well, that's an old-fashioned thing that I think should come back for us.
It is. That's the knock on Tuka Miller and Lockie Weller as captains because of their age.
Yeah.
They have all the potential and all the signs of being strong leaders. It's just, do we protect them because of their age, or push them up and let them lead because of their age, because they're at the same age of so many of the troops following them?
Yep.
Is that actually something that we put in the spotlight because of their age? Is that a reason that we elevate them? I mean, Swallow he seems like the natural leader for the club. He's committed for another 5 years from memory. He loves the Gold Coast. He's been here from the start, but his body has had issues. It's been a lot better in the last couple of years, mind you. And from my understanding, he's quite happy with his work-life balance at the moment. He's got a child. He's got a wife. They've built a house. So he's got, I feel like, from what I've heard, he's got enough on his plate, and he might not want the captaincy. Now, if that's the case, then you have to choose either Miller or Weller, or the other option I'd like to bring up is Jared Witts.
Yeah, and who did captain last year.
Captained the club several times last year, and he's old enough to at least shoulder the load for a year or two until Miller and Weller can develop.
Yep. I think the thing with Swallow is that at the time when they had to decide on the captains, and this was an Eid decision, so it's sort of, they kept it, and the second year round it disintegrated. So the thing that ruled Swallow out at the time was he was injured, and then when Dew had to come in and decide did he keep it or change it, well, Swallow had sort of had an okay season and probably put his hand up, or would have been the assistant coaches. Let's not forget Solomon is very close with the players, and he's one of the key coaches for the transition to Dew and now the transition to a new coaching staff. So the players are very committed to him. Swallow couldn't be a captain with a tiny baby at home. Very, very few captains ever sort of do that. I think Sam Mitchell's a pretty good example of he had a baby, and then 12 months later his wife had twins, and ever since then he's retired and then gone to Western Australia and then couldn't hack it because he's got all these little kids. So you don't put extra pressure on a young man by making him a captain. Witts, as far as Witts is concerned, that if Swallow turns it down quietly, Witts wouldn't. He's proven it. It wouldn't surprise me. Not that many ruckman captains, so maybe a co-captain. I mean, Weller seems to me second season not that likely, but he's in the leadership group conversation. But Miller, it just seems to be the other guy besides Swallow who's really stood up and just shown himself. He's been doing some great media work with the club on the website, doing his little interviews. That's the best I've seen out of the best media production I've seen out of the club since foundation has been Tuke Miller. So you've already got that.
Another option, Tom, and that is co-captains right from the start.
Yeah.
Do they go Tuke Miller and Lockie Weller? Do they go Swallow and Miller, or Weller and Witt? I haven't seen anything come out over the pre-season saying that the club are leaning towards going back down the path of a solo captain.
No. There's so many options these days. I mean, the Brisbane Lions came out and announced 5 captains, and that was it got to a ludicrous point. You can't have 5 captains. I think there's another option there of having a club captain, which could be, say, Michael Riccitelli. And a club captain doesn't necessarily have to play a single game of senior football. They're just the senior guy at the club who sets the standards and leads the leadership group and la. It's doubtful, but you never know what option they're going to go for. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating to see where they will actually go with this. Because, as we said, Witts has worn the armband. You've got Swallow, who everyone wants, but he might not want it. Miller, who everyone concedes is in second spot. But Weller's been around for a bit longer than Miller, just didn't happen to be wearing the red and gold. So, interesting one.
So if you had to put your money where your mouth is, who would you pick as captain?
Spitter. Swallows. By a country mile, he's very well adapted to it. He's now used to his fatherhood responsibilities. And the other thing we should mention with Swallow is that his brother was captain, and his brother's now an assistant coach. So if he needs the mentoring from his bro, it's there. If anyone was born to it, it's him.
Okay, I'll go down a different path. I've got nothing against Swallow. I love the bloke. He'd make a great captain. But I do think the youth factor could be used in a positive light by selecting someone like Tuke Miller or Lockie Weller. I'm going to go with Lockie Weller in this case. Actually, no, sorry. I'm going to go with Tuke Miller. Lockie Weller's only been at the club for a year.
Q clashes will be interesting with Miller and they'll have to shake hands twice.
Yeah.
with Zane Dorco.
I'm pretty sure Tuke Miller would love to hold some of the silverware. I'm pretty sure they still do silverware after those Q clashes. I'm sure he'd love to hold some silverware up above and just
the Ashcroft
give
medal.
A cheeky smile to Dane Zorko and say, "Look what I've got." Anyway,
love it, and I can't wait to find out what they do. No doubt, no one will be right. No one will pick there'll be some sort of strange leadership group where they have a captain for this and a captain for that or whatever. They might go the NFL model where they have like 7 different captains who take turns to doing the coin toss. Who knows?
Anyway, now we've got a new segment, and I'll just play the sound effect. There we go. It is now time for Tom's take. So, Tom, you've got 2 minutes to discuss your topic today, which is you want to have a crack about this final list spot.
Yeah, well, there's 2 actually, two spots to go. Look. From the very start of last year, the AFL Commission said to the Gold Coast, "What do you want and what do you need to get out of the doldrums?" And as the season wore on, it became obvious that the Suns were going to finish bottom of the ladder or close to it again. And it turns out what they'd asked for was extra list spots and these concessions where they could go and get these mature age players. And so the AFL came back. Oh, well, the other thing they asked for was top of the first round concession, and they didn't get that. So what they have got is they could go and pick 3 blokes. Now, I originally thought we were given extra list spots on the rookie list, 2 extra rookie list spots, and that's where these state players went. But no, they went straight to the senior list. So then I speculated, well, what would happen to all these players who are on the chopping block? And they all got delisted, but they got redrafted. So we brought back, 4 players. And while we've brought back 4 players who got delisted to give them a second chance, that's great. Saves us a bit of money because their salaries would have been quite a bit higher. But what we've neglected to do is we've neglected to go and get these Category B rookies from our academy. And the bloke I'm thinking of here is Dirk Conan. He had his 19th birthday on January the 1st. So if he has to wait until next year's AFL draft to get picked, he's going to be a 20-year-old coming in as a first-year player. He was more like nothing against Caleb Graham. Everyone expected him to be picked by the Suns. It's just strange that they haven't put Conan in. He might find himself playing under 18s. He's been selected in the under 19 squad. Further to that, there are 2 list spots that we can fill, and I just don't understand why. Actually, sorry, now that I counted again, we have 49 spots and there are only 46 that are taken. We need a ruckman. We need a backup ruckman, and there's a bloke named Spencer who is playing for Aspley. He's a Queenslander. And he's just going to be sitting there in the NEAFL ready. Anyone who needs a backup ruckman, he's played many years for Melbourne. He got pushed out of Melbourne because of Max Gawn's rise. Don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Why wait? Do you know what I mean? Like, look at Hawthorn. They've lost Tom Mitchell. They might come in and get a player that the Gold Coast have had their eye on. Well, then we could have picked him up, but no, the Hawks will get him.
Okay. Well, I mean, you were banging on a lot last year about some of these under 19 players.
Yeah.
We've had some news with the Allies and the academy and that. Are there any of those players you think the Suns might select?
Well, we've picked an under 19s group. So Dirk Conan's in that. Lockie McDonald and Ryan Gilmore are in the group. Fitzy Greenwall's back, which is just fantastic, and Matt Conroy. Now, Matt Conroy is a fantastic ruckman, just young. Like, ruckmen take a long time to come on. It's actually 9 players. I digress. It wasn't 8. Corey Beeman, Kane Hauer, Cooper Portelli, and Jackson Brumley. So we've got a couple of ruckmen, and Dirk Conan is a tall defender and could possibly pinch hit. So our NEAFL stocks, those are the first 9 blokes that the NEAFL are going to look at if our injury list grows. But as it is, with 47 players, we're going to have 23 named for AFL and 23 named for NEAFL, and 1 bloke who doesn't get a game that week. So we almost need an injury before those under 19s will get a spot. I guess the good news is we've got these 9 players who could potentially come in from within to bolster the list. They're not going to cost us anything, and it's probably a good opportunity. So the way the rules work, up until the round 1, we can pick a pre-season player to fill our list, and we've got 3 open spots. And they could be anyone who's ever nominated for the AFL draft. And these 9 players have all nominated for the draft, and they didn't get picked. Now, we're not going to go and get 58-kilogram Fitzroy Greenwall to go and fill our forward pocket, because he's at least 12 months away from playing anything. But, good on him for getting in that squad. Of the others here, there's a couple who I'm not really that excited about. Brumley's definitely our number 2 behind Conroy as far as ruckman go. But then again, look, we need to develop ruckman. one thing I think the locals will be pleased about is that there are 5 Labrador players in this under-19 squad. And just to be clear to those who don't really understand what I'm saying here, these are guys who've been in our academy for a few years, and they've just gone up to the draft and they missed out. So bummer for them, but it doesn't mean that they've missed out entirely, because a lot of players get picked on their second way through. GWS picked up their ruckman, who didn't have a great under-18s year, but he had a fantastic under-19s year, Kieran Briggs. They picked him up in the draft, and he'll probably end up being very good for them. So quite excited about this. However, we will find out a lot more about the academy and the NEFL in our future episodes.
Yes, I'll leave that to you. You seem to always find the goss for all that. But before we go, we've got a hot minute question from the Sun God. Who is the player we can least afford to lose and why? Quickly, Tom, give me 30 seconds as to who it is.
Jack Martin. Jack Martin, you and I said plenty of times if we could have 3 Jack Martins, we would. The player, the team is a shadow of itself without him. Love him. And further to the question, we can't afford to lose him to injury, but we can't afford to lose him altogether at the end of the year. So we need a big year from Jackie, and we need to sign him up to Lynch money next year.
Okay. And my answer to that question is Jared Witts. Now, he is the highest champion data ranking player for the Gold Coast Suns at the moment at number 72 in the AFL. And he's the 8th best ruckman according to that list. So it's more so the fact that we don't have too much behind him. Yes, we've got Tom Nichols, but Nichols has spent a couple of years out of the system with knee injuries, shoulder injuries. I can't quite remember what they all were, but I don't think he's played at AFL level for a few years now. So it's a big ask to expect him just to jump back into it.
Yeah,
so,
scary thing about
Jared
Witts is thing about him is that he can only get better. He's not that old, and he's already this good. So fingers crossed he has a fit year, no injuries.
All right, well, that concludes the first episode of 2019, so thank you for coming on board, Tom. I'd like to thank Mr. Juicy for having a chat with us in the chat room, keeping us up to date and with how the audio's going. I'd like to urge our listeners to visit our patreon.com/GCSUNScast to donate and get the show to the level that they want. We're also on facebook.com/GCSUNScast, where you'll get regular updates for the podcast and questions during the week. You can search GC Sunscast on YouTube, and Spreaker.com/user/GC Sunscast is where you can actually access the GC Sunscast chat room and podcast site. So that just about does it for us. Look forward to reading comments and hearing any sort of criticism that our audience have. Let us know what you'd like to hear, what you don't like to hear, and we'll endeavour to get back to you guys in a later episode. So we plan on coming back on probably about the 5th of February, which I believe is a Tuesday. That seems to... We'll work it out closer to the date and just make sure our schedules align. But yeah, starting February, our next episode, then on we'll be doing fortnightly until the start of the season.
Only 10 weeks. Only 10 weeks till our first game. The bookies have got us at $4 against the Saints, but that could actually be a wise investment.
Okay,
Saints won't have Max King.
No. Okay, well, thanks for coming on board, Tom.
Yeah, good on you, Shane.
Go Suns.